and welcome to BIZ Inbox. I'm Em Vernem.
And I'm Michelle Battersby.
And every week we answer your burning career questions in the simplest way possible because we're all busy over here. We don't give you any sugarcoating answers, just straight facts without the need of a corporate translator.
That's right, Em. This week we're getting into navigating. Oh, wait, no. That's right, Em. This week we're getting into job hunting whilst pregnant, firing someone, and whether you should invite your colleagues to your wedding.
A big mix this week. We're touching so many topics. Let's jump straight into it. Mish, we received this question from Isabel, and she said, I've been in my job for 2 years. Do I invite my boss to my wedding? I actually think about, I'm nowhere close to getting married, but I think about this way too often. I feel like I should invite my boss to my wedding, and I really love my boss, so I would anyway. But then I feel like once you invite one boss, there's another 5 other people you should also probably invite from your workplace. I feel like it snowballs until you're inviting your whole company to your wedding.
Do you hang out with your current boss that you would invite to your wedding socially outside of work at the moment?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I really like her.
Yeah. I think that is an indicator of if this is someone you should invite to your wedding. Do you actually have a relationship with them outside of work? I've been engaged for coming up to 5 years with no wedding planning in sight.
It's happening soon. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But I heard someone put it amazingly one time when it comes to how you should craft your invite list. And you focus on 3 things: past, present, future. And for someone to get an invite to your wedding, they should tick 2 of the boxes. So maybe they're a really, really old friend. So they're in your past, but you haven't spoken to them in years because maybe you've moved countries or something, but you kind of know that they will be in your future in some way. You're going to move back, you've got the foundations, still love them, they can tick the box. Your boss, they're very present. Do you see them as being someone who is going to be in your life when you leave the company? And I think if you're hanging out with them socially outside of work, that's an indication that you've got a bigger friendship there. And so you probably will, maybe they're a mentor, maybe they're now a friend, so they can kind of tick the box. But there's a lot of people that you probably spend time with and it's just circumstantial. It's because you're working for the company right then, you're learning a new hobby or something, but the root of the friendship isn't that deep, so maybe they won't be in your future. And I've always kind of liked that as a bit of a guiding principle. Obviously, you're still making assumptions predicting that you'll be friends with someone in the future, but I think it's a good lens to put over how strong is your current connection with them.
That is so smart. Past, present, and future. Can I ask you a question that has nothing to do with career or workplace?
Yeah.
But what if it's like your weird cousin's new girlfriend? Because she's not my past. She might not be my future, but she's also not really my present. Do you have to invite her?
I'd say no. Weird cousins. I also don't subscribe to just inviting people to your wedding simply because they're family. I want people, is that controversial? But I want people at my wedding who make the vibe great. Yeah. I will be honest with this. I've got a cousin who outright fucking hates me and my sisters.
Oh my God.
And one of my sisters is there's no way she'll listen to this because she absolutely hates us. But one of my sisters is getting married and, felt bad that she's not going to invite this cousin. And I'm to my sister, I won't throw my sister under the bus and name her right now, but I'm she hates us. She hates you. She will make this wedding miserable. This is not someone that you want in the room, and you don't want the anxiety of kind of dealing with someone who makes you feel uncomfortable just because they're family. I just don't think that's right to me.
Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah.
You are much braver than I am. But I like that analogy, past, present, and future. I feel like that could change a lot of people's lives, regardless if it's your boss or anyone.
Question number 2. I'm stressed, I'm unemployed, and I've just found out I'm pregnant. How do I get another job? And should I tell future employers? I really feel for this person because that is just a lot on your plate at one time. And it is very normal when navigating pregnancy to wonder and worry about how it may affect your employment. Because the scary thing is, you just don't really know how people will respond to that and what an individual's perception, judgment, conditioning, is like around this topic. And unfortunately, there is research that shows there is still discrimination that exists against pregnant and parent workers. And that sucks. And we really do still have such a long way to go with this.
Yeah.
But it's for that reason that I would recommend, if you are pregnant and job hunting, and you can hide it, definitely do your best to hide it through the interview process. I mean, it is probably a good thing these days that so much is virtual in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think it's best not to disclose you're pregnant until you have the offer on the table. You don't owe it to the interviewer to let them know early in the process. I think it is right to let them know before you sign the contract, though. It just shows that you're upfront. It's a good demonstration of your integrity, I think. But it's also just a way to protect yourself in case there is any bias in the room until you've got a firm offer on the table. And then I would just be upfront with them and let them know, where you're at in the pregnancy, let them know that you're excited about the opportunity, and, willing to work with them on, what that period may look like once you get there.
Oh, I can't believe that it's still so discriminatory against pregnant women when it comes to finding jobs and keeping jobs, even letting people go. I think, yeah, that sucks. If you can hide it, that's great, but it also sucks that you have to.
I know it absolutely does. And I wish that wasn't the answer, but I just think based on, there was a research study done in Australia last year, and it was the first study in over a decade that looked into this topic. And it came out with stats that did prove that this kind of discrimination and bias did still exist. But I think that's also why you do definitely want to let them know once you've got the offer, but before you sign, because you do also want to get a read on what their response is like, how celebratory they are, how accommodating they are, if they have a family themselves, if there are examples of other parents within the workplace that they've supported through their first pregnancy, second pregnancy, whatever it is. I think those are then conversations you can have once it's out on the table, because I also would hate to see, a pregnant woman then going into an environment that isn't going to treat her well. And I don't think, anyone would really want that. So it's also an opportunity to identify if culturally they're going to be a supportive and safe place for you, which, you'd really hope in 2025 that that's what you're walking into. But unfortunately, and that's the part that makes it scary, you really just don't know how people will respond until you kind of start having those conversations.
Oh, well, I guess I won't get pregnant then.
No, I would say you're in a very good environment to get pregnant, Em.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I will get pregnant then. I'll do it right now.
Say you'd be in one of the best places.
Our third and final question comes from Chanel, and she wrote into the BIZ email. If you want to write your questions into the BIZ email, we'll put a link in our show notes. It's very easy for you. And she said, I run a small business and I have to fire someone. How do I do it, and how do I know if I should do it? Oh, I've never, ever experienced this, but Mish, have you?
Yeah.
Surely you have.
Yes, I've fired many, many people in my time. This is tough. And as a small business owner or as like a founder, maybe early in your journey, I think it's one of the toughest lessons that you learn. And I always had this saying in the back of my mind, but I kind of learnt it the hard way. And it is hire slow, fire fast. And that is really how you need to operate in business. And I think even if you're at the point where you're asking the question, like, how do I know if I should do it? You already know, it's kind of like if you're wondering if you like your boyfriend or love your boyfriend, if you're kind of asking that question, then you probably know that they're not the one. So it can be really hard to let people go. And often as like a founder or as a manager, if you've hired the person, you feel responsible, like you want them to thrive, you want them to shine. And you can often feel like it's your fault almost that they haven't been able to get there. And so that can lead to you like giving people multiple choices and kind of making excuses for poor performance, which at the end of the day just ends up making it so much more painful and so much more excruciating than it needs to be. And so my advice is definitely to act as fast as possible once you get a sense that someone's not the right person for the role. But I do operate under the policy of no surprises. So if you are going to let someone go, ethically and morally, I always feel like it should not come as a surprise to that person that they are being let go. If it comes as a surprise, then I don't feel like I've done my job well enough. Like I haven't communicated with them transparently enough. I haven't given them clear feedback on their performance. I haven't maybe put them on a performance improvement plan. I do operate a business in California where it's at will employment. So in California, we can just fire people whenever we like.
That's brutal.
It is, yeah. I shouldn't laugh. It's actually crazy. But even with that in mind, like would always make sure have been really clear with the person that they're underperforming, created paper trails, set KPIs for them to meet with deadlines. And then if those aren't met, they are released. You're setting them free. That's also another way to think about it. But yeah, just making sure that there is a valid business reason for the employment no longer existing. Performance is a challenging one because it can often feel a little bit more emotional, which is why it's good to have everything documented and just stick to the facts. But if the business is changing, that's usually an easier thing to convey to someone and it's like less personal. Or if you're downsizing, that also makes it easier to let people go because it's not so tied to their individual performance.
Yeah, I also feel like as an employee, I remember when I first started, I think that probationary period, like if you're going to let someone go, do it during then, because for me, like I never really felt like I was in the job until I passed that. I feel like if something would have happened in between that period, it wouldn't have felt so drastic.
Yeah, definitely with probation periods, like those are, they're there for a reason, especially in Australia where it actually is really hard to fire people, to be honest. Like the law is much more in favor of employees in Australia as opposed to employers like it is in the States. But yeah, it never feels good letting people go. If it doesn't hurt you a bit, then you've lost, compassion or empathy as a human. So it is definitely normal that it feels hard and it's tough. But I think if you're acting under the guise of that no surprises policy, then it just makes the conversations easier and you know that you've given them a fair chance and a shot to prove themselves and it just hasn't worked out. And at the end of the day, employment is a transaction and it happens and both parties move on.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping us clear the BIZ inbox. If you've got a work question, send it our way. You'll find a link to submit your questions in the show notes.
And if you missed any of our other episodes, just scroll back up into your feed. We recently did an episode on owning your redundancy. It's relevant to anyone feeling like they're starting all over again. We'll also put a link to that in our show notes. And we'll be back here in your BIZ inbox next week. Bye!